The Man in the Bog, a 2,400-year-old last meal survived over 2 millennia intact. Researchers identified more than 60 different plants in his final stomach contents. So let's walk back to a cold fen in Jutland, in what is now Denmark. The year is somewhere near 290 BC. In 1952, a man is dredged from the peat, curled up as if he'd only lain down to sleep. His skin is tanned dark as old leather. The stubble is still on his chin. The whorls of his fingertips are still there to read. We call him Grauballe Man, after the village near the bog, and inside him, sealed for more than 2,000 years, is a single meal. Not bones, not gold, not treasure, just food. Breakfast or supper, we cannot yet say which. But that meal can still be read, grain by grain. It can tell us what grew that year. It can hint at the season he died in. And it can raise one quiet, uncomfortable question. Why does a last bowl of porridge hold more than 60 kinds of plant? Nothing about this bog is loud, it just keeps. First, the bog itself. A peat bog is not quite water and not quite land. It is a slow brown archive. Rain feeds it. Sphagnum moss grows on the surface and dies underneath, and the dead moss never fully rots. Down there, the water is cold, acidic, and starved of oxygen. Almost nothing can live in it. And where nothing lives, nothing decays. The moss releases acids that tan human skin the way a hide is tanned in a workshop. Bone often dissolves in that same acid, but hair, nails, stomach, and gut can survive. The bog keeps the soft things and gives up the hard ones, which is the opposite of nearly every other grave on Earth. That is why a man laid here around 290 BC arrives in our century with his last meal still inside him. The bog did not simply bury him, it preserved him, gently and for a very long time. Think of it as cold black tea brewed for 2,000 years. Skin goes leather brown. The grave becomes a slow kind of ink. Now lift up, above the heath. This is Iron Age Jutland. Small timber farmsteads sit on sandy soil. Cattle graze the open moor. Fields of barley and emmer wheat run in narrow strips down toward the wetlands. Life here is hard and close to the ground. People weave wool, fire clay pots, forge iron tools, and hoard grain against the winter. And scattered through this land are the bogs, dark, still, and a little feared. To these communities, the wetland is not waste ground. It is a threshold, a place held between the living world and something older. They walk out to the water's edge to leave gifts, pots of food, fine weapons. Sometimes people, we cannot read their minds across 23 centuries, but the pattern left in the peat is clear enough. Again and again, the bog receives, and around 290 BC, it receives him. Winters here are long, and the granary is a matter of life or death. When the stores run low, the wetland is where you turn. Step inside a longhouse before he dies. A low doorway, a packed earth floor, a hearth breathing smoke up toward a hole in the thatch. A clay pot sits in the embers, and inside it water thickens into gruel. Someone has ground barley and other grains on a stone quern. Into the pot go seeds gathered from the fields and their weedy edges. Knot grass, black bindweed, fat hen, dozens of small wild plants most of us would just call weeds today. This is ordinary food, lean season food, the kind you eat when the harvest was thin and you sweep up whatever the land still offers. The porridge cooks slowly, thick and grey, and this humble, unremarkable bowl is the meal that will outlive empires. He eats. And within a few hours, everything changes. A wooden spoon leans against the pot's lip. Someone will lift it soon. This is the last warm thing he will taste. You can almost smell it: grain, smoke, damp wool. An evening like 10,000 others that happened to be his last. They bring him out to the bog. What happens next is not gentle, and the channel that carries you towards sleep can hold it softly. His throat is cut, ear to ear, in one deep line. He is laid down in the peat without a coffin, without grave goods, and the moss closes over him. Some of the marks on his body, a fractured skull, a broken shin, may not be wounds at all. The weight of the peat, pressing down for centuries, can crack old bone on its own. Historians still debate exactly how he died and why. But the cut throat is not in doubt. This was deliberate. Whether it was punishment, sacrifice, or something we have no word for, we cannot say for certain. What we can say is that someone fed him first, a full stomach, and then the knife. And that order of things is the strange part. No struggle is written in the peat around him. He seems to have been placed, not thrown. That care, next to that violence, is hard to hold. Now come forward, into the laboratory light. To learn what he ate, researchers open the gut and rinse its contents through fine sieves. Under the microscope, a lost meal slowly reassembles itself. Whole grains and broken ones. The husks of wild seeds, tiny fragments of leaf and stem. Each species has a shape, a fingerprint of its own, and patient specialists match them one at a time. The count climbs past 20, past 40, past 60 different kinds of plant. Barley leads the way, then a long tail of wild seeds from the fields and the ditches. There is no fruit, no summer berry, no fresh green leaf, and threaded through all of it, something that should not really be there. A dark fungus that grows on rye and grasses in damp years. We call it ergot, and ergot changes the whole story. It is slow, unglamorous work, a jeweler's patience with a farmer's harvest. 60 species out of one dead man's belly. Barley, over and over, and then the wild rest. Ergot is a poison. It grows as small dark spurs where healthy grain should be. Eat enough of it and the body turns against itself. Blood vessels narrow. The mind can slip into confusion, even hallucination. In the Middle Ages, whole villages that ate infected rye fell into a burning, convulsing sickness they named St. Anthony's fire. And here it is, inside a man's final bowl of porridge, more than 2,000 years earlier. So a new question opens beneath the old one. Was the ergot just an accident of a bad, wet year, poor grain from a poor harvest? Or was it in the bowl on purpose? A dose to soften a man before the knife? We honestly do not know. Serious scientists disagree. But once you know the fungus is there, the porridge stops looking like an ordinary supper. It starts to look like preparation. And notice the timing of the fungus. It thrives in cold, wet, failing years. The very years when a frightened people might feel they owed the bog something. Here is the twist that turns a meal into a clock. Plants keep a calendar. They sprout, flower, seed, and fade on a schedule the seasons set. So the botanists did not only ask what he ate, they asked when those plants would have looked like this. And the answer was quietly chilling. None of the seeds were fresh. Nothing in the bowl carried the ripeness of late summer or autumn. It was gathered food, stored food, the swept-up remainder of an old harvest, which points away from the golden months. It points toward the lean edge of the year, deep winter, or the first raw weeks of spring. So the meal was not only telling us what he ate, it was telling us the season he stopped eating. His stomach, in other words, was holding a date, not a number on a page. A time of year written in seeds. A body can be a witness that never meant to testify. His did in the end, not a guess. A reading taken from the plants themselves. Lift up again over the winter moor at dusk. Picture the season the seeds describe. The fields are bare. The bog is rimmed with thin ice. Food is scarce, and the community is waiting out the hungry stretch before the land wakes again. And it is in exactly this thin, cold season that they walk a man out to the water. Across northern Europe, many bog offerings seem to gather in these darker months, the turning points of the year, when people across the ancient world lit fires and made gifts to carry them toward spring. We cannot prove why, But the timing keeps repeating, a gift given at the year's lowest point, as if the land, before it could give, first had to be given something in return. The old European year hinged on these dark weeks. Midwinter was a door you had to bargain your way through, and so the offering and the season fit together like a hand into an old glove. Grim, but not random. A cold fire on a cold night, and one man walking toward the water. Come back to the present, to a quiet museum in Denmark. Grauballer man lies in a low, cool case, lit like something sacred. His face is calm. His fingertips are so well kept that his prints were taken, ridge for ridge, more than 2,000 years after they last touched anything at all. He was found in 1952 by men cutting peat for fuel, who at first believed they had stumbled on a recent death. And he is not alone in these bogs. Not far away lies Tolland Man, older still, hanged around 400 BC, his own last meal, a barley porridge eaten perhaps a day before he died. 2 men, 2 bowls, 2 quiet, deliberate endings in the same dark water. The bog gathered them and kept them, so that their smallest, most human act, a meal, could be handed to us intact. Look how ordinary he seems. A working man, no older than 40, with a last meal in him, like anyone else. Think about what actually survived here. Not a crown, not a monument. A bowl of poor seasoned porridge, half digested, carried through the gut of a dying man and sealed in acid for 23 centuries. Empires rose and fell above that bog. Rome came and went. Whole languages were born and buried. And the entire time, 60 kinds of plants sat quietly in the dark, waiting to be counted. Under the microscope, each grain still holds its shape. Each wild seed still names its plant. Each faint trace of fungus still whispers what kind of year it was. The grand things, the gold, the names, the stories he was told as a child, all of that dissolved. What lasted was the most fragile thing imaginable. His last meal. The bog is a strange librarian. It threw away the treasure and saved the crumbs. A king's tomb is robbed. A poor man's supper is kept. The bog has its own strange sense of what matters. 23 centuries of silence, and still it holds its shape. So here is what the man in the bog really gives us. Not a mystery about death, a record of a life's final day, told from the inside. He ate a humble gruel of more than 60 plants. Within hours, he was walked to the water and killed. The food inside him says the harvest was thin. The season in the seeds says the year was young or dying. The fungus in the bowl hints perhaps at a body being prepared. Piece it together and the porridge stops being a meal. His last meal was the calendar of his death, written not on stone, not in ink, but in barley and weed seed and the shape of a fungus, a calendar he swallowed without ever knowing he carried it. 2,000 years later, we finally learned how to read it. We did not dig up his gold, because there was none. We dug up his breakfast, and it spoke. That is the gift and the unease of the man in the bog. He kept no secrets, because he never knew he held any. On the table, the samples are labeled and still. 60 plants sorted into neat rows, 2,000 years narrowed down to a single season. The man rests in his cool glass case, his face turned as if he were only dozing. And somewhere out in Jutland, the bog goes on, brown and patient, keeping the crumbs and letting the crowns dissolve. Tonight, another meal is cooked over another fire, and by morning it will be gone, the way meals always are. His never left. That is the quiet marvel of the man in the bog. The smallest thing survived. Sleep if you like. The lamp stays low. 60 small plants keep their long, patient watch over a single winter night from long ago.